The warehouse they stood in, waiting for their contact to arrive, was cold and empty. Windows were missing, and all other businesses in the surrounding area had stopped trading. It was supposed to be a straightforward deal. Drop the cash, pick up the goods, and leave. No hassle. The two teenagers stood quietly agitated, gang tattoos showing on their neck, just below the bandanas covering their identities. Just then, a large silver 4x4 pulled into the yard in front of them. 3 men dressed in tailored suits climbed out, and as one moved towards them, the other 2 made their way to the back of the car, removing 2 briefcases, and joined their colleague. As payment was discussed, the 2 gangbangers made a decision that they would come to regret. A moment's madness changed their lives forever. The subtle of a silenced pistol, and there lay a young life drifting away on the floor, his compatriot fleeing for the exit. As one of the well-dressed men stood above him for a moment, a slow stream of blood trickled from the wound. They drove away from the dusty yard, calling 911 as they did. Within minutes, the paramedics were on the scene, calmly talking to him, explaining everything that they were doing to him, and why. Minutes later, he was in the back of a vehicle being taken to St. Thomas's Hospital, Westminster Bridge. As they made the journey to the hospital, he could hear the quiet whispering of the paramedics as he drifted in and out of consciousness. As his stretcher was rushed through the corridors, the lights gave him the impression of traveling through a tunnel, and arriving at the operating table was like coming out the other side. After 6 hours on the operating table, skin grafts and several stitches, he was placed in a private room on the ward. As the anesthetic began to wear off, and his focus beginning to return, he noticed a tall, slim, blonde woman looking at a clipboard, and he realized where he was, but had no idea as to how he got there. "Hi, my name is Joanne, and I'll be looking after you today. What's your name, please? Just for your records." Yeah, it's Declan Jones," he answered. "How long have I been here?" 3 days, was Joanne's response. His next question threw her off a little. "What about the others in the car?" he asked. "There was no car. You have been shot," Joanne replied. No. There was a collision, and we were trapped." "What aren't you telling me?" He looked down. "They're dead, aren't they?" As the conversation continued, Declan felt himself drifting away, and he heard the high-pitched pulse of one of his monitors. And from what seemed to be a distance away, he heard Joanne shouting for assistance. Declan had slipped into a non-induced coma. The only noise that filled the room was the sobs of his mother as she sat by his side, wondering if her son was going to pull through, and that of the life support machine beeping as it peaked and fell at regular intervals. As the weeks passed, the doctors couldn't understand the reason behind the erratic behavior of his support system. The dipping and peaking had now become random and frighteningly unpredictable, and believed the only decision was to remove him from the machine and see if he was able to breathe under his own momentum. Reluctantly, his mother agreed to sign the paperwork, which could see her lose her son forever. The very next morning, the machine was unplugged, and for a short period, there looked as though there was a little hope. but Declan quietly passed the same evening, having never recovered consciousness. The only people there to say goodbye were his mother and Joanne, his nurse. As his mother slowly accompanied him to the hospital mortuary, everything around her was a blur. What will happen to him now? Will they release his body for burial soon? Declan himself was in what is known as purgatory, that place between the living and the dead, unable to pass over for some reason. He had no idea why, just that he was stuck there for as long as he could imagine.